So Rae Carruth, they done let him out of jail today, y'all. I mean, prison. It's a difference. Okay, well, anyway, they let him out of jail. For those of you who don't know, he's a former NFL player who was put in prison for, setting up the murder for hire of his baby mama, Sharika Adams. And it was a lot to the situation because she was pregnant and he didn't want to pay child support. So this whole murder for hire plot happened. But the baby ended up being born, his son, Chancellor. And Sharika ended up passing away and he ended up in prison. So now after serving, I guess, 19 years for the murder of Sharika Adams, they released him today. Let's get into the video. Oh, this is going to be real. What is up, y'all? It's Brittany Chanel. I'm back with another video. So, as y'all know, if y'all heard, we talking about Rae Carruth being let out of prison after 19 years. Oh, this is just so real for me because just a while ago, I was reporting on this Rae Carruth situation and him talking about hypothetically having custody of Chancellor right into Sharika Adams' mom. And I just felt a certain type of way about that. Now, God is a God of forgiveness and that sort of thing. But just the original, feelings behind this whole case, I was like, what would make you want to just kill somebody because you don't want to pay child support? So you hire somebody to take this young lady from this world and, almost kill your son. And then it's like, just for the thought of not paying child support when you ended up giving up 19 years of your life and having to work as a prison barber for all that time, allegedly. Come on now. But anyway, so I am on the CharlotteObserver.com, and this is their sports section, and it says, Rae Carruth released from prison after serving 19 years in the murder of Sharika Adams. This was written by Scott Fowler, and this was put on here October the 22nd, and it was updated October 23rd. Okay, so former Carolina Panther Rae Carruth walked out of prison and back into the free world. He was released on Monday. So at 8:02 a.m. on a cold and clear October morning, Carruth was released from the minimum custody facility at Sampson Correctional Institution, about 190 miles east of Charlotte. He will no longer be primarily identified as offender number 0712822 in the North Carolina prison system. He is now Ray Wiggins, also known as Rae Carruth. I wonder why is that? Like, why he switched that name up real quick. Also known as a free man. About 10 TV trucks and a couple of dozen members of the media awaited Carruth's release in a parking lot that bordered the prison. Carruth didn't speak to reporters before entering a white Chevy Tahoe and being driven away. Tiffany Trice, a longtime friend of the Carruth family, said shortly after the release that Carruth just wants to move on. So, this is a quote. I guess, I don't know if this is a member of the family or Trice. Says, Rae was picked up by family this morning, and that's all we are going to say right now. Trice said by phone. She said she was with Carruth and that the former Panther didn't want to do an interview and also didn't want to disclose where he planned to live for obvious reasons, because who really would give up their address knowing that that person was in jail for doing something so horrendous in the first place? And also you'll have paparazzi and all these other people trying to get an exclusive interview with him due to him being released from jail, if that makes any sense. So Carruth must meet occasionally with authorities wherever he lives for a 9-month period as part of his post-release requirements. So the Carolina Panthers first round draft choice, and we don't care nothing about this sports stuff. I'm just being for real. I feel like, people are, I'm not going to say just men, because women like sports too, but nobody really cares what his accolades are, and if somebody's child is going on to the glory, okay? But I'm going to read anyway, because it's kind of irritating me that that's there. Carruth served nearly 19 years in prison. In January 2001, a Charlotte jury convicted Carruth of conspiring to murder Sharika Adams, who was nearly 8 months pregnant with Carruth's child when she was shot 4 times inside her car on November 16th, 1999. At the time, Adams was Carruth's on and off girlfriend. And ladies, here is a tip. Please look for these red flag signals in these relationships. If you off with a person, it's a reason why you off with a person. Like that on and off again relationship thing, that's a red flag anyway, because there's no consistency. And a man that's not even consistent, what make you think he gonna be consistently trying to be with you? And I think with her, she had probably the best intentions of the world. She wanted to raise her son, and this man just cut her life short. You know what I mean? Like, because he was selfish. And he was 25 at the time, y'all. So he was kind of dead. He was near my age. On the night Adams was ambushed in Charlotte, he was in the third year of a promising NFL career and boasted a net worth of approximately $368,000. Carruth is now 44 years old. His money is long gone, eaten up by most of his legal defense, so he's back to square one. And his 4.3 speed and the 40-yard dash is a thing of the past as well. And then why do we need to know that his speed is gone? Like, the man is 44, okay? He's not in the prime of his life anymore where he was 25 and able to move like that. That is common sense. People are petty. And then I don't like how they proceed to follow here. It says his disabled son, Chancellor Lee Adams, turns 19 next month. Like, why you couldn't just say the man's son turns 19 next month? Like, you have to put disabled. Like, I feel like that's, I get it, but then I feel like it's somewhat disrespectful at the same time, because that little boy has reached a lot of milestones in his life. And I just, this just disturbs me that this man did this. And the fact that he's not getting to move on with his life, because he still has to answer to the Most High God, no matter if he did time or what. Like, if he didn't repent and do what he needs to do, hopefully he did, so that things could be, it could be closure. I definitely think the grandmother, Sondra, she's just, that lady is extraordinary from what I've seen in the media, because she just was so strong when all of this happened. Like, she was also very forgiving, and that's a good quality to have, because when you don't forgive people, even when they do the most horrendous things, it hurts you. It stresses you out, and stress has a direct link to certain illnesses health-wise. So it was just amazing to see that she was able to forgive and be able to, raise her grandson, with the memory of his mom, the way that she was before all of this happened. And then, just to have the strength to help him through his therapies and stuff. Now, Chancellor Lee has been raised since birth in Charlotte by his grandmother, Sondra Adams, who we just was talking about. And Sharika Adams, anyway, before I was rudely interrupted, it was Sharika Adams' only biological child. Chancellor Lee was born by emergency C-section less than 90 minutes after his mother was shot. So he had suffered some brain damage, and he has cerebral palsy. Also, and that was due to owing, to the fact that the blood and oxygen was cut off. It was deprived during the chaotic minutes of the gunshots. Like, the mother is shot, so he was not able to get the air and the stuff he needed to, survive as a baby in the womb like that, to really be what he, reach full term to the 9 months, because 8 months, there's a lot of developments, but you need to go to full term, because there's a lot of things that in that last stretch needs to be developed. But it's just like the fact that he made it through was very inspiring to me. Like, I just know that God is real from that. So Sharika Adams, she didn't die immediately of her wounds, and that saved Chancellor's life with her haunting 911 call, but she did pass away 4 weeks later in a Charlotte hospital. In 2016, Adams told basically the Charlotte Observer that she and Chancellor planned to meet Carruth at the prison gates so that he could see his son and she could talk to him honestly about the crime he committed in its aftermath. In recent months, though, Sondra and Chancellor have both changed their minds about being in Clinton on the day of Carruth's release. And she basically was quoted to say, "We're not going." So Sondra Adams hasn't ruled out Carruth and Chancellor Lee seeing each other at some point in the future, y'all. However, while Adams said she doesn't believe Chancellor, and Carruth will ever have a sustained relationship. She's saying she forgive, but she don't know if she ready to deal with him yet, y'all. She also says she long ago forgave and doesn't wish any ill will on him as he re-enters society. And this is a quote that she said that this is why I say this lady is a strong lady. She says, "I want to forgive him so that I can move on and enjoy the fruits of my labor and enjoy my life," Adams said in a recent interview, "because if I'm sitting around in unforgiveness, it's like me drinking poison and hoping he's going to die." So basically reached on Monday after Carruth's release. She said she didn't want to make any further comments. And Carruth hasn't answered detailed questions about the night Sharika Adams was shot in 17 years. In a letter he wrote to me this is the man, I guess, the Scott Fowler. In a letter he wrote to the Charlotte Observer in March, he wrote that there was little point in doing so because he would always be considered the villain in the story. You are the villain. You set your baby mama up to be murdered, sir. Like, in your mind, you're not the villain. Like, you are the bad guy. You are Chung Lee. You are the bad guy, sir. Literally. So, basically, and this is what Rae Carruth wrote at the time that he gave this quote to the Charlotte Observer. In every great piece of literature, there's always a protagonist and an antagonist. The latter applies to me, and that's something that will never change. There's absolutely nothing I could ever say or do to right my wrongs, to no longer be the bad guy. This is how I feel about this statement. I get it. Like, he's basically saying, what's the point? Because either way it goes, I'm still going to be viewed by society as this, even if I apologize, even no matter what I do. It's just, I can't change the facts. I get that. But I still feel like he should not, because I feel like when people call themselves the bad guy or try to make references to there's an antagonist or the bad guy, I feel like that's the person, what's the word I'm looking for? Looking for some type of sympathy or empathy from people. And it's really like Rae Carruth, I don't have no sympathy for Rae Carruth. Because the manly thing would have been, if you found out your girl was pregnant or your baby mama was pregnant at the time, you should have just handled your business as a man and raised your child. And maybe everything would have been different. You could have had a longer career. You could have had a legacy. But you didn't. And now your son has to live his life a certain way. But, by the grace of God, him and the grandmother are living their best life. And he is left to pick the rest of the pieces of his life together. I hope he repents for this, the errors of his ways, so that he can move forward. Because, God is the ultimate judge and juror. And sometimes, us as humans, we get caught up with being in a false reality of things. Like, we have so many intentions, or we have so many different dreams and aspirations, but we don't really know sometimes if they're real or if they're like fantasy. And a lot of these things and thoughts that we believe, as we grow and mature, we realize that they were childish thoughts or they were falsehoods. and we just believed them because at the time that's what we felt. You know what I mean? Or at the time, things, even God says the heart is wickedly deceitful. Who can know it? So basically, a lot of the things we feel are not always the most correct thing. A lot of the thoughts we think, if we don't take the time to analyze these things and what the consequences are, we can end up like God forbid, like a Rae Carruth. Like, all he had to do as an adult was to say, hey, I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to man up and accept what I did. You know what I mean? Man up. Even if he would have accepted what he did in the beginning, you know what I mean? Like, just owning up to the fact that he could have said, I got somebody pregnant. Let me do what I need to do as a father. 25, you're not all that young to where you don't have ideals and know how fatherhood works at 25. Like, come on now. 25, I could see if he was like 18 when this happened, 20 even. You was 20, you was a whole adult for about 5-6 years, bro. You was busting 30 at that time. So it's like, y'all get what I'm trying to say. It's Brittany Chanel. Let me know y'all's thoughts about Rae Carruth being released from prison today. I don't know why I keep saying jail. Anyway, leave your comments down below. Hit that notification bell to join the notifications, okay? And I'll be back with more views on the news.